currently 38 weeks pregnant, and these are all of the things that I'm doing to prepare for another unmedicated natural labor. Actually, I am about 40 weeks pregnant because I feel like the last few weeks of pregnancy don't really make sense. Obviously, when it comes to preparing for labor, I would say exercise would have to be one of the top priorities. So the mile circuit, if you YouTube that, having a yoga ball, big circles or through like pelvic rocks, squats, lunges, walks like curb walking or even duck walking. A lot of that I would say is what I've been trying to focus on. My stomach is so big. I make this Nora tea like every 3 days or so, just a fresh batch. This is what I use, hold on. Mainly I'm doing this for hemorrhaging support. I think it's nettle leaf and alfalfa that can help that. I don't know yet, I gotta check my source, but wait. One thing that I started doing as well is this gentle birth tincture. And this is supposed to shorten your labor. This is supposed to help soften your cervix and kind of get everything ready. I used it for all my pregnancies, but I don't know. I don't really have short labors, so I don't know. I'm also gonna show you one thing that I did. So this is the first year that I did not have an actual like official baby shower. I ended up having a nesting party. And all I really asked for my nesting party was just like a freezer meal party. And so I had a couple girls get together and I got all of the meals and recipes and everything that I needed, put like different girls into sections, and it actually worked out really, really good. So for that 2-hour lot, we spent like an hour and a half doing meals, and then we spent the last 30 minutes like eating and having fun and opening gifts and prayer and all the fun stuff. But I'll show you. So I bought a deep freezer a couple years ago, actually like during COVID run, when like there was like food shortages and stuff. I still have a list of everything that we made. Okay, another thing I would definitely say is staying on top of your supplements. So what I did differently this pregnancy, which is the only time I've done it, is I actually got my blood work done. I got this Ritual iron. You want to pair your iron with the vitamin C. And then I have my prenatal, which again, I just used the Needed brand. I paired it with a vitamin B12. I'm using the Thorn brand. And then I did use a grass beef spleen, prenatal fish oil, probiotic, like a vaginal probiotic, especially if you are GBS positive or if you want to prevent being positive. And then one thing that I do as well is I like to just keep these little like electrolyte element packets in my purse. But anyways, I just keep a couple of packets in there so that I can stay hydrated with my electrolytes. Okay, I'm not quite done, so it's kind of embarrassing, but here's my labor bag and here's like my actual hospital bag. And I'm packing them in 2 separate ways because my labor bag, when you go for a natural birth, you want to be basically in charge of making sure everything is the way that you want it. And so for my labors, I will have like nice LED lights to make it cozy. I'll make sure to have some tennis balls for any like back labor or back pain. I'll have a comb. I'll have a comb. I actually have 2 of them for the acupressure. Anyways, if you're interested, I can make a whole separate video of what's in my like actual birthing bag. But one thing I do is I will pack like a pretty little labor gown so that I don't feel like a hospital patient. And so I got these on Amazon, but they're the 3-in-1, so they have like the back open and the sides open in case there's any emergencies. And then I have a whole bag of food. Orange juice to replenish my potassium after I give birth. And then I bought like a bunch of these energy blocks and chews. I have energy waffles, but just for those times when I'm not really in the mood to eat something, but I need some energy, especially like my first labor was 65 hours. And you know, on top of like pain relief, you don't quite know what's going to be helpful to you until you're actually in labor. I just pack everything to be safe. So I have a TENS machine that I pack, a set of essential oil blends that I created, a fan when I get really hot. My very first pregnancy, I actually paid for a Bradley Method course with a certified doula who actually comes to my labors. It's called the Bradley Method, and then there's actually a student workbook. And I will bring all of these into my labor because a lot of them will actually give you like exact positions and things to try and tips and assignments and just how you can prepare your body overall. And then on top of like my actual hospital bag, I feel like that's a whole different video. I have like a nightgown. I have a whole bag just for baby. I'm bringing my own pillow, just all those little things, a heat pad, recovery things, I guess that would be important. But before I leave my room, it's a little messy in here. I also have this that my husband has bought for me. It's a 2-in-1 pelvic wand. Picture looks kind of crazy. It's supposed to help you with like perineal massages, but it has an option for the, like when you're pregnant, and it has an option for like a pelvic floor massage after. And so that's one of those like items that like you don't really want to tell people that you own, but you'll be really thankful that you have it when you're not tearing during labor and then dealing with like 2nd and 3rd degree tears, because y'all, that really painful. I would say another thing that has been really helpful is chiropractic care and prenatal massages have been like my go-to, like physical therapy if you're able to with your insurance. But as I've been like preparing, I feel like one thing that has been really important to me is like monitoring my stress levels. I actually got an Aura ring. Here's my little Aura ring. And it's been so great in like letting me know how my sleep is looking like, or my stress levels, or my heart rate, or temperature. And it's been really neat, like just being able to prepare for labor in that sense of like, I'm not just preparing for a birth, but I'm preparing for a postpartum, and I'm preparing for a healthy baby. And if I want to have a healthy baby, I need to make sure that I'm being healthy first, which is like the whole topic of my page is like, if you want to raise disciples, you need to first be a disciple. And so one thing I did with my kids, let me show you, is I set up babysitters for them. And I actually have a load of like, I think three or 4 couples, so that, you know, if someone can't, or if someone's working, or if it's a night shift, or if we're staying longer, complications, whatever, I have backups and I'm not relying on one person. But one thing I did was, again, this is kind of extra, but I'm a planner, so extra is like what I do. So here's my breakdown of what the boys do. So just when they wake up, when they nap, kind of like loose schedule, I guess, of like babysitting our kids and what the expectation is, and then little things just to note. And then I created a behavior chore chart because my boys have been loving that lately. We don't do it at home, but we definitely do it with babysitters. Oh, and one more thing. So I encourage every mom that like tells me she's afraid of labor to really focus on reading like positive birth stories and positive labor stories, because for some reason, like you will tell someone, especially as a first-time mom, you'll tell them like your fears, and then they will give you like a lot of unsolicited advice, right? Like how horrible labor is. That's not going to help someone mentally get into a good headspace and to prepare their body. And so it's like, what I can do is I can just focus on like one contraction at a time. I can focus on me being prepared as much as I possibly can, and then like leaving the details and the rest of how it goes up to God ultimately. And so I actually, well, now I'm getting rid of this, but I was recommending this book for the longest time. It's just a bunch of like positive birth stories, but there was like a witchcraft section in there, I guess because it's like spiritual midwifery. So I'm getting rid of the book, but the idea is to read on positive birth stories. Or there's a girl on YouTube, I think her name's Bridget Taylor. Her course is called Built to Birth, but she has a bunch of free stuff. And then there's even an app on Christian hypnobirthing. I know some people are against that, but for me personally, I loved it with my second birth because it's scriptures and it's a way for you to just meditate on the Word of God. The last thing too I did, which I can share below, is I created a labor playlist. And so I actually made like a whole YouTube playlist of just worship songs or scriptures or things that I felt like would be inspiring or helpful or encouraging. And the nurses would come in and be like, wow, it feels so peaceful in here. And I thought it was just a really great testimony. Like our kids, before they're even born into this earth, they're already like ministering the things of God and the presence of God. One thing that my doula had shared with me was to create like a little vision letter. Like, how do I envision my labor to be? And to write that down. Okay, God created this baby. He knit this baby in my womb. He has a plan and a purpose, and like in Jeremiah, it says that he knew the baby before the baby was even born. It helps wash away or at least highlight a lot of the fears that I'm holding on, which is tension in my body, which will actually hurt my labor process. One thing I bought, like for my first pregnancy, was this little pregnancy wedge. It seems really dumb, but literally like you put it, yeah, I'm gonna show you actually. So like you would lay down, oh my gosh. And the wedge goes like right underneath your belly and you like sleep. So like your belly has a pillow and you have a pillow. It's like so extremely comfortable. And then planning my postpartum to be like, okay, I'm gonna be home. Like really utilizing those first 40 days to be like, okay, this is the only time I get to bond with baby in this kind of way. And of course, the Lord can redeem and restore, so you're not like too late if you didn't get that. But if you're able to protect that and cultivate that, then yes, amen, do it. And also one more thing before I would forget, breast pumping. So with my first, I went past 42 weeks. My second, I went 41 weeks. And it wasn't until I pulled out the breast pump. And then also, obviously, like the last few weeks, if you ever like ask your midwife or anybody what to do, they will encourage you to have a lot of sex. And of course, there's acupressure, right? Like my chiropractic will tell me like ways of where my husband can massage certain parts of my ankle. There's different things like that where you can help stimulate a contraction. God has perfect timing for our babies in our wombs, and it will be ready when it's ready. But I think the most important thing is just like empowering yourself, right? Getting educated. And two, I encourage, one last thought is, if, you know, every single labor and birth that we go through, there is some trauma. I mean, I think that's like part of it. And so to be able to process our trauma and own our stories, because it really is like our baby's first story that we ever get to share. And so like, it's so important to process the story of our labor, no matter how traumatic, no matter how unplanned it was or how devastating it was, because it's such a painful space. And so to process our trauma, to process our labor, so that we can have a story to share that is like, okay, the Lord's hand was still in all of it. And I have my own traumatic stories. I've had to just process and say, okay, Lord, your hand, where was your hand in all of this? And trust that He was there with me, and trust that I still had a healthy mama and healthy baby out of all of it. And that really is the ultimate goal. So anyways, thank you for watching. Hope this encourages you. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, here's my big belly. And I will see y'all next time. Bye. Okay, one more thing I forgot, even though I already changed, but I am heading to the nail salon because one thing I love to do, specifically for postpartum, but also for labor, is just to feel as pretty as I can. Because you're in such like a bad feeling state, you know? So I love to have like a fresh manicure and pedicure and get my hair done. So I got my hair done recently. I love being able to be clean, like I shower and I shave and I curl my hair the next day. And just to be able to be prepared for like all the little ways of where I will feel pretty when I'm like in such a vulnerable and painfully low season for a little while. But that's another way that I prepare, is just getting all my little beauty things out of the way and feeling really fresh and ready to go as a lady.